what's up? It's a Friendly Ghost podcast here. I'm Bree.
Sebastian.
Player.
And I'm Vinny.
And today we're going to be talking about Dune Part 1 and Part 2. It's going to be a really exciting episode. So, me and Sebastian saw the first one, like, when it first came out, and then we saw the second one, like, a few weeks ago. He saw it twice. And then Claire and Vinny actually just experienced it, like, as of yesterday and today, which is pretty cool.
And we made sure not to say anything.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
Did we see Dune 1 yesterday? Or?
It was the day before.
So it's only in the last few days.
That's just, so it's pretty fresh in their minds.
Mm-hmm. Which is awesome. I just have to say that this is going to be spoiler-free up until, like, maybe the middle or the end.
Till we say it's not.
Yeah, till we say it's not.
Till we say.
So just be mindful of that. But we have some really awesome stuff to talk about. It's been trending online a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Timothy, the whole, like, Dune Cup, as you guys know. It's just going to be a fun time. Mm-hmm. So let's get into it. I guess we could start with the first one, since I feel like everybody has seen that, and then we'll get into the juicy stuff later. Okay. So, what are our thoughts on the first one?
On part 1?
Yeah, part 1.
Yeah, we could do a spoiler for part 1.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years, 3 years since it came out. What do you guys thought? Because you guys just saw it 2
Yeah.
years ago.
I personally thought it was really good, especially after seeing the second one.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the acting, and I thought the pacing was surprisingly quick. I heard the pacing was insanely quick, but I was not expecting it to be such a breakneck pace throughout. Mm-hmm. But it honestly worked for it.
Mm. I liked it. Like, honestly, as I was watching it, I could see, like, not everything they were setting up, but I could see, like, how much they were setting up, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, oh, wow, all the things are happening. So,
yeah.
I really liked it.
The timeline is pretty good in the first one, I feel like. I, personally, for me, I didn't like it just because it was so long. I'm not a long type of girl. I don't like long movies like that. But, It was good for what it was. It was good.
I barely noticed the length, personally.
So fair.
That's
well, you're an avid moviegoer. You love movies, so that's probably a big thing for you too.
I feel like after watching the second one, you can go back and watch the first one and, like, actually come to appreciate it more.
Because you see a lot more.
You realize what they're setting up, and that, you know, I was more in Brianna's camp. I was like, you know, this movie it's a little slower, obviously, compared to the second one. It's about much slower. But it is set up. You need a world build. I mean, the book is huge, and I know that the book itself comes with a glossary at the end. So I know, you know, a lot of book readers thought it was a little confusing at first. So we needed that setup in the first half, which being part 1, so that part 2 had, like, the payoff that it did. Mm-hmm. So I definitely see, like, both ways. Like, it didn't affect me because, you know, me and you, like, long movies don't really affect us, right? Mm-hmm. But I can definitely see that criticism where, like, it's more like the politics, more like the religious aspect and whatnot. But yeah,
Funny you mentioned that, because I was saying to Claire while we were watching it, I thought the aesthetic was so cool. How it was a mix of, like, obviously futuristic tech and, like, sci-fi, but it was also, like, ancient religious ideologies. So it was, like, almost ancient religions all of a sudden got space tech and, like, travel across space and take over planets and stuff. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah,
well
like
done.
I feel like it was like realistic future, like a realistic future, not just like the laser beams and whatnot. It was more like,
it was
like
interesting.
More like what Star Wars is, but, like, it's more realistic what we would look like in thousands of years.
Yeah, definitely I could see where, like, Star Wars is more like the pulpy, childish version of Dune, where it took, like, a lot of its, like, overarching just
traits.
Yeah, like the surface level stuff, and then changed everything else.
Yeah,
it was really good. Like, one of the main things I could absolutely see the inspiration for the Force in Dune, especially part 1, where they're setting it up, where it's like the voice is just a mind trick. It's just like Jedi mind trick, and visions and dreams that Paul's getting, where like they keep talking about being able to. Your mind is beyond space and time. That's something that I feel like the Force is to some degree, where it's like beyond space and time. People are seeing the future, visions of the past, feeling things that are happening elsewhere, like extrasensory feelings. Like, there was a scene where Duncan Idaho, which is like Jason Momoa, was fighting beyond a wall, and Paul and his mom were like, he's dead. But it was like they knew that beyond the wall, so it was like they were able to tell what was happening.
You can sense the energy right now. What do you guys think of the
I mean,
sci-fi aspect?
It was good. I have never really seen or like read any sci-fi like that, but it was pretty good. I know a lot of other people are like, wow, this is way better than the greatest Star Wars movie, or like
the second one, right?
Yeah, or any like of the greatest like science fiction that they've read or have seen like in the movies. So I think that's pretty cool.
It's like we'll get to this later with especially with part 2, but it's kind of like this. Well, Dune was like the precursor.
Yeah.
To all those every single piece of sci-fi, like took inspiration because Dune's one of the first ones to do it. Yeah. What do you think, Claire, about the sci-fi aspect?
Yeah.
I really like how they incorporated religion into it because that just seems like really super interesting, honestly. And there's also like the control aspect of it. You know, how religion can be used as a force of nature, honestly, to just kind of brainwash people to do whatever the heck you want.
That's like especially with the Benny Gesserit and stuff.
And I like how it's kind of like it's like an order, you know, too. It's like a little cults. I digs.
I feel like it's very realistic too for like sci-fi to use like a religion or like a voice or a figure to base it off of like a storyline, a plot line, a character, a story arc, whatever. Like just base it off on that like solid aspect. Like, hey, there's a religion here, people believe this, and then you can bring in like culture with it, and then that's how you have like the whole development of like a story, but a really well thought out story, I think. Which is pretty cool.
I also liked seeing a lot of like the inspiration that went into Dune. Like you could obviously tell that the Freemen are like Middle Eastern nationalities and stuff all like put into one. I think also one thing that I've seen like other people mention, but I also see a lot of reviewers not really talk about this, where I think Dune is a critique on like the white savior storyline, where it's like there's a like the white man is gonna come save us and stuff, but really I think Paul is not a good guy, you know. He is not a hero, so I think that's where I think it's getting interesting.
Spoiler territory now.
We're not gonna get into the reason why, but
I don't feel like he's a hero.
I also agree because me and Seb were talking about this, about how he was how he grew up. And like he just always was like, what was his mother's religion? Bene
Gesserit.
Yeah, like she always like pushed down his throat, like, hey, you have to like learn this. You have to learn it,
and the voice,
you know,
and
train, and you know, and I feel like somebody like that is just not. If you're so like forced and pushed into something, and then you're gonna start believing it, obviously, and you do all the customs and everything, it's just not gonna turn good because you have a skewed. I feel like you have a skewed vision of way things are supposed to go.
It's like almost ignorance to like the world and stuff.
Because if somebody tells you something over and over, you're gonna start to believe it eventually, and I think that's what starts to happen to Paul.
And you see, and you mix that what you're saying with the Bene Gesserit going to Arrakis for hundreds of years before the events of the movie happen and the book happens, where they brainwashed the people, the Fremen, to believe that
portions of them at least
the fundamentalists, like the most religious part of them, that your savior is coming. This is like what he is. Not, I don't know what he looks like, but like he is coming to save you. Just so they were setting up that, you know, in case one of their prospects pan out, which was Paul, and they get to Arrakis, they already have like at least half of the Fremen underneath, like
the groundwork laid.
The groundwork is laid, and mix that, you know, brainwashing, you know, a whole people's mixed with like, you know, grooming somebody for. You get a puppet at the end of the day, right? And so and touching on in Dune 1, like you know, they're setting him up. It's not something that he wants, and we'll get into that later. But it's something that, like, he was born for, and like, if just a baby is trained. Because remember, with the Bene Gesserit, it's supposed to be female.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
And that, like...
Especially the voice, being able to use the voice.
It's supposed to be female. And and they said in the first movie, like, you know, that they were mad at Lady Jessica for having a male. But at the same... Like, she wanted to have a female for the Bene Gesserit side of things, but then she had to give Leto, her husband, a male as an heir. So it's kind of like... You know, so she's trying to have best of both worlds, an heir. And
I think to some degree, though, she's like a selfish figure where she wanted to be like the parent of the one.
Yeah.
You know, I
No,
think
for sure.
she like almost forced this
Yeah.
to like go down this path.
Literally,
Yeah, sure.
yeah. Because even though she seemed like scared and worried
Mhm.
when they first met, like one of the mothers in the
Yeah.
first movie, like she looked terrified. She was like, "Oh my god, this is bad." But I think as her character development goes on, it's just like she's kind of thriving in it now. She's like, "Yeah, I'm scared, but like this is what's supposed to happen," to her belief, to her knowledge, because she is so far into her religion.
Which is interesting to see how like she progresses through like 1 and 2.
Yeah.
It's kind of like she absorbs into it
Yeah.
more and more and more.
By the end of
Yeah.
like Dune 2, she's
Yeah.
like pressing her thumb into the other ones.
Literally, no.
Yeah.
literally.
I guess we could go into Dune 2 then.
Oh, but
I have
first-
2
oh, yeah.
things
Two
to
things
add.
Okay,
before?
cool, yeah.
Okay.
So, one thing that I think is a fun thing that I noticed that I wasn't sure if this is real. I mentioned this to you when we were watching it. When Leto and like the House Atreides was like getting everything together, packing up to go to Arrakis. There's like a bullhead that I noticed. I really wonder if that bullhead is the one that killed Paul's grandpa, because Paul was like his grandpa was like a bullfighter, and then they're like, yeah, and you know what happened to him, and then they just have a bullhead just
Yeah. It's like
So
you
it's-
having him.
yeah, like
Like this guy.
I just thought it would be so funny if they just had been holding like a trophy of the bull that killed like the former
The former
head of
Duke.
House Atreides.
Yeah.
I never noticed that actually. That's
Yeah,
funny that
it
you
was
pointed it out.
it was
I
funny
never-
when I noticed. I was like, wait, is that the bull?
That they pan to it.
Yeah, they showed it being
Okay.
boxed up. Like,
Shoot.
yeah,
It makes sense to
That's
execute
crazy.
the bull afterwards.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh,
you killed the king.
exactly. That's funny, bull, the king killer.
The only other thing I want to say, this is the thing that I said in the car that
Oh, no.
you would find hilarious.
Yeah.
I fucking hate. Oh, sorry, if
No,
it's
it's
a
good.
No,
curse.
it's good.
I hate the phrase desert power. The amount of times
Really?
I hated it. It
Why?
was so stupid.
And then we just started
Wait, did
mocking
they say
it.
that?
They
Yeah, the
said
first
it
movie, they said
so.
I don't remember.
In the first movie, yeah.
In the first
the
movie,
first
they
movie.
said it like 6 or 7 times.
Desert power.
Desert
Yes,
power.
they did. Oh my god, he's
'Cause-
always like, desert power.
We need to get the desert
so
power.
weird,
And then
yeah.
when Duncan comes in, it's like, yeah, they're the best fighters I've ever seen in the whole galaxy. Desert power. It's like,
Yeah.
what the
Oh,
hell?
it's very tongue in cheek, like young
Yeah.
adult,
Yeah.
It's
like
like-
desert
yeah.
power.
It's like, what the hell
yeah,
is he
it's
doing?
very
Yeah.
like yeah.
And then Josh Brolin's character, Gurney, when he finds Paul again, like, it's just like, desert power.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the second one.
I was,
yeah.
as soon as it happened, I turned her in the theater, I
Desert
was like,
power.
no fucking way.
Yeah, I was like, no
this is
shot.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Wow, that just unlocked that memory
Wow, I
in my
didn't even
head.
think about it like
'cause
that.
I
I
didn't,
mean, it makes sense why.
Because they were saying we have
Yeah.
water power, we have ground power, we have air power, we need desert power. I'm like,
Yeah.
is that not just ground power? Like, what's the difference?
Yeah, that's just
The only part where desert power was a W moment was when in Dune 2 when they were riding the
Spoilers.
sandworms.
Oh, yeah, when
That
they ride
was
the sandworms. Yeah, they
fucking-
ride the sandworms and do
Yeah.
one.
Dude, that was
That's
was
desert
like-
power. You just needed Josh
Yeah.
Brolin's character Gurney to be like desert power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That
hated
would
it.
took me out.
No,
I
no,
hated
no.
it.
I
Yeah.
think if they would have said desert power, I would have been turned off. on it. It would have ruined the like.
Desert power.
The,
They said it way too much in Dune 1.
I mean, it makes sense because, like, you know, like the movie Dune 1, well, both, obviously just Dune, it kind of says that, like, they're colonizers, right? So, like, you wouldn't hear any of the Fremen say, I don't know, I don't remember if any of the Fremen would be, like, desert power.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Like, it's kind
No.
of like, it's like the outside people looking into, like, this new land, like, I don't know.
It
It's
is,
just-
it is
Yeah.
weirdly, like,
Yeah.
it does sound like kind of racist, like,
Yeah.
like a description of them as, like, just desert power.
Desert power, yeah.
It's like, jeez.
I never thought of it like that.
but it's
cringy
also
that.
like thinking back to what we were talking about before.
Mm.
They put so much emphasis on like the desert and the Fremen people and how they're pretty much going into a revolution or they want to revolt. Like by saying desert power just makes them more empowered and like, wow, this is actually a really strong force that you would want on your side.
Mm.
And I feel like that sets up Dune 2 really well as well because
Oh,
we
yeah.
see a lot
'Cause
more
we-
of them.
we
Like
see
combat.
that desert power.
Yeah,
More
we
so in
see-
the second.
Mhm.
than the
For
first.
sure
Yeah.
we do.
Sure we do.
Exactly, yeah. Because they hype it up so much. They're like, oh my god, like desert power, like what we were saying. And then you can actually see it in Dune 2. Which brings us to Dune 2, and
Yeah.
major spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it. But if you haven't seen it and you want to get spoiled, that's also okay too.
First, before,
Yeah.
let's give a rating for Dune 2.
Dune 2?
I mean, for Dune 2.
For Dune 2?
Or
Go
Dune
around.
1?
Well,
We can do both.
So out of 5 or out of 10?
Out of 10. Out of 10. Go around the table.
Out of 5?
Out of
Yeah.
10.
Out of 10? Okay.
I'll,
Dune 2.
should I start?
If you want, yeah.
So for Dune 1, I would say it's like an 8 to a 9, but
Okay.
like Dune 2 is like a 9. Like a
Okay.
solid 9 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I have to piggyback off on that. I feel like I could have maybe Dune 1 is like a 7 or 8 only because the setup was great, but like for a movie that long, you want to have something that like actually happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, some more
You need
satisfying.
Something
Yeah.
more tangible.
Yeah,
Like
'cause-
the context was there.
Yeah, they
It's just long.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard.
I agree with that. But I'm gonna go a little lower. I'm gonna say a 7, just because like I don't
For
like
one?
for one, yeah. Just because I don't like long movies. I don't like 3.5 hour movies. It's just really long. It's probably
Yeah,
a
it's
hot
not
take,
up your alley
but
at all. Yeah.
it's not. But it's alright. But it was still really good. The setup was great. And stuff.
Like, yeah, I don't want to be like a 7 because that's your, but because I
Yeah.
was higher on it than you were.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to give Dune 1 an 8 neither. I was like a 7.7, like in the middle there.
Damn,
I'd
I'm-
say for Dune 1.
I was kind to Dune 1.
fair.
No, I just like I was enthralled with Dune 1 it being like another sci-fi major science fiction story that's just so much different from like us seeing Star Wars, being just focusing on that. But then again, yeah, the 3 hours it's not even 3 hours, but like close to 3 hour situation. But Dune 2, I give a 10.
I feel
For
like the reason why I put Dune 1 a little higher, I got really lost in like the world building, like aesthetics type
That's so
stuff,
fair.
where like you could see like it really did almost feel medieval space.
Yeah.
Where it was like they have messengers for the emperor come, like they'll come on like their carriages, but it's like these massive, like awesome looking ships that also are like unlike any designs I've ever seen.
Yeah, the
before.
design is unbelievable, and it being made like in 1960s.
Yeah.
Like, is what Frank Herbert thought of.
So cool.
And so different.
Mm.
I
It's
love
like,
like the
yeah.
helicopters. They're like
Yeah.
dragonflies. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
the
Raptors,
Yeah,
right?
those
The
are-
ornithopters, something like that, something like that. I'm
Yeah.
building one. I have the Lego one.
You do.
Yeah.
Building it right
really?
now. Yeah, the huge
Yeah,
Lego one.
he is.
I'm building it right now.
It's kind of crazy.
Stay tuned. You'll see it on the table.
Yeah, right.
It's
Yeah.
a big one. It's huge.
Sentium.
But I gave Dune 2 a 10.
Mm.
I think that I can't find something. I was like really really nitpicky. I can't really find something that's like the ruin.
Like,
Like,
yeah, what's wrong?
That was bad
Yeah.
with it personally. So
I'll say one thing that I didn't like about Dune 2. I will say it. I'll probably get a lot of crap for this. Timothy Chalamet, actually, some of his scenes took me out. Like, when he gets really emotional, I think he goes way overboard.
really,
I think, like,
Really?
he's, like, quick to yelling in every scene where he
Ooh.
gets, like, upset. And I'm like, okay, dude.
Ooh, really?
Like, that's a little, like, 0 to 100 here.
oh,
That's
that's
so
great.
interesting.
But it's like every
Interesting.
other scene that he acts in, every other emotion is good. But it's like when he's upset, like overwhelmed, that type of emotion, he's like a little too overplaying it, I think. But that's just me being like
Well,
critiquing.
what's the first topic for Dune 2?
Well, we can go wherever. But I guess like we're into actors now.
Oh,
so
perfect. So, yeah, it worked out.
Yeah, it works out.
I think, and I can see what you're saying. Yeah, she's a little shouty, but I think this is Timothy Chalamet's like the performance of his career
I think so too.
far.
I think he's great. in it.
Yeah,
I just think like there's some like fine edges he needs to.
I can see that.
like, fix.
Yeah, but I think like that monologue. So that monologue he had in the temple at the end
That was good.
when he was like, I'm Paul Atreides, Duke of Arrakis. That whole thing.
Mm.
I thought that was amazing. Like seeing how he opened it by walking in there, like while they were praying, walking in there,
That's
and
cool.
then like the mother was Jessica was there, and Jessica was like easy because he started yelling like off the rip, saying like none of you guys here could challenge me.
That actually
Yeah,
reminds me.
yeah.
There's a scene in Dune 1 that actually made me think of like everyone had the same reaction I had in my own head when he was fighting Jassim or like what's the guy's name?
Yeah,
At the
it's
end?
like
Yeah, I know what
just
you're talking about. It's like something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
When he was fighting him and he like does the first combo with him and then gets the knife to his throat and he just yells, "Do you yield?" And then everyone's like, "Ooh,
Hey.
yeah."
Oh,
and
yeah.
like I had that same
Yeah,
reaction.
okay.
Uh-huh.
That's the reaction I have to like every one of his
Jameis,
scenes.
by the way, Jameis.
Jameis.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jameis.
every time he like had a scene where he got emotional, it was like a very aggressive forward thing where I was like, whoa.
What does go into like his character, because he is young.
Yeah,
It's true.
He's very young still, and even I think like Jessica said perfectly when he went there, like literally like none of you guys could beat me, like none of you guys could and I love it because they all rise up and like whoa, like why are you disrespecting us now?
So cool then too in that scene where he just starts going into everyone's past
Yeah,
and
to
stuff,
show them.
like so cool.
And he essentially tells them like, I'm like, you know, he said went to the one Fremen. It was like your grandmother lost an eye in a sandstorm when she was a child.
When she was
Yeah.
12.
Which is something that like obviously like
How
who
could anyone know?
that?
Mhm.
And he says like
He told another one's dream.
exactly like in your
Yeah.
dream you wish you did this, and then he said like I'm the one that your grandmother warned you about, and I was like wow, like he was coming into his own, and but like saying that like Jessica was like in the beginning Jessica was like easy like slower. So I see that like what you're saying, but I think that's just for me that's like part of the character, because at the same and we'll get to like when we talk about the plot, right? The idea of like a false messiah who was like written or was like groomed to be this instead of actually being the real one that the Fremen are waiting for is the one that to me he's actually just the Bene Gesserit Messiah. But going back to Timothy for now, for the sake of the conversation, I think he handled that pretty well. I think, like you said, that you enjoyed his performance. I think it was like his performance of his career. I think this like takes him to like an upper echelon. Now, I didn't watch like Pretty Women or Little Women. I think it was called. I didn't watch Little Women or like the other projects he was in. Wonka.
I haven't seen.
I didn't see Wonka yet.
This is like the first thing I've ever watched.
Of his, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've seen like Don't Look Up. He was in that.
He was pretty funny in that.
was
Not
good
gonna
in
lie.
that.
But so, what do you think of like
Yeah.
your first exposure related to Timothy?
Kind of how I feel about Zendaya. I feel like they just don't like hit something that main characters should hit. I don't even know how to elaborate on that, but yeah.
Like there's something missing for you in terms of
Yeah.
chemistry, or was it like
Not even chemistry between them, like, and maybe this is like a me problem, but like when I see Zendaya mostly.
you see the person Zendaya?
It's hard for me to like, and I have this problem with Zendaya just as an actress, but like I kind of got that with Timothy. I just couldn't like see them as like
You could
the
separate
character.
the character from the actor. Like
There was sometimes I could with Zendaya, and I feel like she got more screen time in Dune 2 and kind of could like.
She was good in Dune 2.
She was barely
I
a good
thought.
one.
She was good.
And what? I guess we'll go to what do you think of Timothy before we go to Zendaya?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, that's a
Are you
perfect
kidding?
segue to
Yeah.
Zendaya.
This is also my first like thing that I've seen Timothy in. I don't really follow celebrities like that. But I don't know. It's just like he kind of grew on me as like time went on after I saw Dune 2. Because at first I really was like, Timothy doesn't really like he's not hitting it for me. Like he just didn't do a good job in my eyes when I first saw it. And after like I let it like marinate and sit and really thought about it, I was like, no, he actually did a really good job. Like the emotions were there. He can just like he can act, and I didn't know that until like this movie. Yeah, he can. I do agree with what you're saying though, Vinny, just a little bit.
Like
about,
he's a little too much.
Yeah, but I also see what Seb is saying too. It makes both points are valid and they make so much sense. Like you can see it. And yeah, but I think I'm like right smack in the middle, like with Claire, kind of.
It's like
both
not
spectrums.
quite sure how
Yeah.
you feel,
But he
because
was
I go
good.
back and forth myself.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's like you said, his speech scene, I definitely even got vibes where like you remember Khal Drogo's speech at the end of season 1 of Game of Thrones, where it's like he's talking about how his son is going to be like the
has
best.
right across like the water, and
He's going to mount the earth.
He's gonna
and
mount the
stuff.
earth. Yeah.
That scene where like I get chills every time I hear that speech. It's so cool. I feel like I got the same kind of vibe from
You did. That's
Timothy's
good.
speech.
Okay.
So I thought that speech was so good.
I got the same like reaction to that. I think that speech was amazing.
I think I think what I liked about both speeches is like the passion. Like you could see it in like how they move and stuff as they're giving the speech, that they're like really feeling it.
Yeah.
I think that's what he does really well.
I think he perfectly like you saw a switch in him during the movie, right? Like in the beginning, before he had the worm toxin, the water of life. before he had that, it was more like, you know, remember Lady Jessica was like, oh, you know, you're the savior of these people. You bring them hope. And he's like, that's not hope.
Yeah.
Right?
That's like one of the
Yeah,
scenes
that
where I
was-
was like, that was a little much.
Okay, I see that. I see that.
Yeah.
But he's like, that's not hope.
I kind of like that though.
And-
I like that scene.
And
It was a
so-
good
that
scene.
also
It was a good
like
scene.
could add to his character though that he's kind of quick to anger and kind of has a big ego also.
Yeah.
Kind of likes to pretend like he doesn't.
But I think like it's him. That's going to my point. I think he's like
Yeah.
coming into his ego because, you know, like Paul before the water of life, and then Paul after the water of life is like two
Very
different
different,
people.
yeah.
It's kind of like
It's like Dr. Manhattan.
yeah,
Like, it's like before he
Yeah.
was human, and then now he's
yeah.
not really human
It reminds me
anymore.
of like Attack on Titan, right?
Mhm.
You have
Oh yeah,
Eren
that too.
Yeager
That's a good one.
before he saw the visions of what he has to do, and then it's like by the way, when I saw Dune, I was like, okay, this is just like I can see where Eren Yeager got inspiration from his storyline.
Yeah.
Because it's literally how Eren Yeager sees the future, and then his character just changes because he knows what he has to do in the future.
I think, like,
Yeah.
to some degree, those type of characters are interesting because it's
Mm-hmm.
like they almost become disconnected from like
Yeah.
their own like humanity. It's like they don't have morals anymore because it's like they're thinking beyond. Like
They're like on a different
people.
plane of existence, and I think Timothy did a good job on like after like the toxin and before he was like I'm not the savior to these people, I just want to be one of them.
Mhm.
So after saying like I'm Paul Muad'Dib Atreides Dooku, like
Yeah.
really getting into it because he saw what he has to do.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I think he did a good job like flicking that, like switching like that.
I agree with that.
Yeah, like you could tell
Mhm.
for sure.
You
And
could
then,
also kind of I'm
no,
sorry.
no, I was done.
I was gonna say you could also kind of tell like, after he did like the worm toxin, you could see how like they changed the perspective, like the filming, like they started filming more from like I can't remember.
Cheney, like Zendaya's
Yes,
character.
Zendaya's character. They started doing that, and more of like the Fremen and all of that, and focusing less on Paul, which I thought was interesting because they're trying to like disconnect us from him in that moment.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
more so
love
like
that.
Chinese reaction to Paul doing
Yeah.
this.
Especially
Yeah.
like we're in spoilers, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like especially like the
Spoilers.
final battle, like the final scene where it's like we are kind of
Guidance.
seeing like
This is crazy.
like we are seeing Paul's perspective, but it's like we're watching from the crowds,
From
like the
afar,
fight
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I could definitely see that.
And then I guess I go into Zendaya. The one thing I critique, I thought Zendaya was amazing in this movie overall, but I did one critique is like her accent. Like you have Javier,
hard to keep track of.
You have Javier Bardem's character, right, as Stilgar,
My favorite
and
fucking
he's
character
phenomenal.
in the
He's
movie.
great.
So he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So funny.
He was
He's
literally
so
laughing
great.
out loud in the theater.
No,
I
he was
laughed
amazing.
every time he was on scene.
Yeah.
Like every time Paul does something, he's like, "Oh, Gaim," like and like starts crazy. I just start
No,
laughing.
and
He's like-
He's going to the
Oh.
other guys. He's
That's
like,
it.
he would be
Humble.
humble.
Yeah.
Like,
You know, the
So
Muad'Dib is
funny.
humble. He will be
It
humble.
was funny.
The Muad'Dib is humble.
Paul
But
played the character like just long enough too.
Yeah.
Like it was so crazy.
It's so
honestly.
like Javier Bardem. I thought he was like the perfect Fremen. Like he had the way he sounded,
Mhm.
and then you have and even the people around Shani, how they sound. But then you just had Zendaya. This is like my only little nitpicking critique. You know
yeah,
where
she
I'm going.
couldn't get the accent.
You have Zendaya who just sounds like Zendaya,
Mm.
Yeah.
just talking.
Maybe, I think
That's
that's, kind
probably
of the
what it
issue.
was.
I
That might
have,
have been
but
an
I
issue with
couldn't
you.
Really put my
Yeah.
finger on it.
Because
Yeah.
I definitely feel like she's a great actress when it comes to like emotion and
No,
like
yeah.
being in the
Yes.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like I could
She
definitely
takes you
see
there.
she can't. I don't think I've ever seen her do
a character voice.
Like a different dialect.
yeah like
Yeah.
anything beyond emotion acting. You know what I mean?
I can see that. So like that's my only little critique because I thought she was phenomenal.
Mhm.
But like that little like just Zendaya's voice is just that, and I know they explain it in the movie. They said they say in Dune 2 that like there's an accent is because Zendaya is from the north,
Yeah.
and they're the less religious ones, while
Right.
you know Stilgar is from the south.
But even like the people from the north had accents.
But even the
too.
people around her had really cool accents as Fremen.
Mhm.
So it was like, you know, okay. Like, it didn't take me out. It took me out when I first heard it, but then, like, you know, it got too crazy during the movie to, like, really take me out anymore.
Mhm.
But just my only thing about Zendaya, what do you guys think?
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
even really notice that, but now that you say that, I can't like unsee it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just Zendaya's voice to
Agreed.
me. You agree? Yeah. Who else?
Yeah, what else? What other actors
Austin
do you
Butler.
think? Austin Butler.
Austin Butler
Yeah.
was good,
Austin Butler.
but
Who was that? Who?
He
Faye
was
Rotha.
Faye Rotha.
The tall bald guy.
The new
Harkonnen.
new
yeah.
Harkonnen character.
Okay.
The one that fought in the Coliseum.
Yeah.
That was a
Okay.
cool
him.
scene.
Mhm.
That was an amazing
That was cool.
scene.
Just the camera work and how they shot.
Yeah,
was just
they had to shoot on
beautiful.
infrared
It was
for that
amazing.
scene.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's
Yeah.
cool. But I
That's
thought he was
spectacular.
great. I think he was great in it. People were saying, okay, I don't. You guys saw like on social media, but people were comparing him to Javier Bardem's character in
Oh yeah, No Country
No Country for Good Men, or whatever it's called,
No Country for Old
Old
Men.
Men, and then also compared him to Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight, and
I
I
see
just
that less.
and I must say
I
like
know, same.
like Austin Butler was amazing as
Mhm.
Fade Rotha, right? Like he camouflaged into that character. A lot of
Yeah.
people didn't even know Austin Butler was in the damn movie until they saw it, like they read the credits.
Mhm.
But like, cause he just like disappeared into that character. But I don't think he has enough screen time
To, like,
to
compare.
be like Heath Ledger Joker or you
Yeah.
know Harvey Bardem
Yeah.
in No Country for Old
I
Men.
think
But-
one thing too that I noticed, I think he felt like he had to do almost like an impression of
Stellan Skarsgård.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that he held back. He was held back a little bit by that, where he kept trying to do like the same similar accent or like
He did a good job
Like
in doing
him.
it. He did a
Yeah,
good.
he
he
did a
sounded
good
just
job.
like him.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like on some level I wanted it a little bit more distinct, you know, because
Okay.
it did just feel like a mini Vladimir. Harkonnen.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. What were you gonna say?
I thought that there was something circulating around the internet where he was trying to like use another actor's like methods or something to help him.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I don't know if I
Yeah.
followed
I
enough
think
for
he's just
that.
a little
I
method.
don't
He's a little
remember.
method.
I can
Austin
see that.
Butler, for sure.
I don't really remember. Maybe I'm wrong.
But yeah, he definitely did try to like mimic Vladimir Harkonnen, Stellan
Mhm.
Skarsgård.
Definitely for
he
the
did
voice.
A great job
Mhm.
mimicking his
Yeah.
voice. Sound like a younger.
But I
version.
think it did kind of hold him back from being a little bit more distinct, you know,
Mhm.
because now it's like I'm just thinking of him as like just a smaller version.
He
of,
looked
like, the
But
main
if
amazing.
you
villain.
like think about like his character, like he might have been groomed to be just like him.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a good
that's
point.
true.
That's true.
That's
too,
a
good point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his nephew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Which
know?
also was very confusing because I thought at one point Vladimir called him his son, and then
I think it's more like a fatherly thing.
Yeah.
They never really
Yeah.
get into, like, at least in the movie. I don't know about the books, but they didn't get into who like Fate's father is.
because I got
Or-
confused
or
when
mother.
he was first introduced. I thought I heard Vladimir call him his son, and then when Faye Rotha like called him uncle, I was like, wait.
Yeah, uncle.
Yeah.
He calls him uncle.
What?
But
Yeah, no, I
you
know.
know how like movies and books and whatever they tell people like, oh my god, you're my son,
Yeah.
but they're not really my son.
Yeah,
so
they
that's
just more like
probably
a
what it
father's
was.
son.
I don't even know if he was even referring, like, talking directly to him. I think he was talking to, like, one of his, like, staff
Other
or whatever.
Staff, yeah.
And,
Mm.
like, just said, like, oh, like, my son or whatever.
Yeah, also
Yeah.
And, like,
yeah.
confused me.
Who else is in it? Just a star-studded cast, by the way. It's like,
Batista's another
Yeah.
one where I feel like he was
Ooh,
held
yeah.
back by having to just yell in every scene. Because he had to yell in every scene.
yeah, but the thing is, like, his character, like, you don't look for his character for depth.
I like Batista. So I
He's
wanted...
a good actor.
Because I feel like he
Yeah.
doesn't get enough roles to kind of show his chops.
Mm.
So like this role was like a good opportunity for him, and I was looking for like moments where like he could really shine. But it was like
Yeah.
almost every scene was him like smashing someone's
Somebody's
face in.
it's
Yeah.
like, yelling.
Or getting his face smashed by
Yeah.
Fate,
Yeah.
which is all, that's cool, like, had the crazy...
Or like Gurney, the fight with Gurney, that was a cool scene.
I
but
like
that was short.
But I like that it was short. Like, it didn't
Mhm.
give you a whole... Because, you know, the Fade, Paul fight was long. You'd have to give you a whole Gurney... what's his name? Rashad?
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Yeah, I can't
And then
remember.
I didn't need a whole fight with them too. It was pretty quick. They kind of showed that Batista's character was like weak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm,
Then
and
he
he
relied-
ran.
He ran. He was running. He ran from.
He
Paul.
ran twice.
Yeah.
He ran
He did.
twice.
He ran twice.
He ran from Gurney. He was running from Gurney, and then he ran from Paul. Like when they first did that one attack.
I
That was
feel
funny
like
when he did.
Batista's character was to show like two sides of that race or culture or whatever.
Mhm.
Because you have him, like, he's very brutal. He just likes
Mhm.
violence. And then the other side is Austin Butler's character, where it's very, like, kind of calm, but very sadistic. But
Like,
very,
emotionless.
Like, emotionless, yeah.
Yeah, he's very
But that's under the
sadistic.
surface. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Mhm.
you have to really dig for that.
Mhm.
It's very interesting.
I agree
but I
with
also, but I kind of, I like it. I like the comparison between those two.
Okay, so
You know?
let's get into the. Anything else?
No, that's it. Yeah.
Let's get into the elephant in the acting room. What do you think of Christopher Walken? As the
Okay.
Emperor?
It took me out. Like you said, I barely even think he was even acting. He was just talking.
Can I say I'm uncultured and I don't know anybody or anything, and you even told me about him days before about how he has like a way of talking. I didn't even notice it in the movie.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
also didn't notice anything at all.
Do your accent. Do your impression.
Oh, the
Your impression? Oh my gosh.
the Paul Atreides, the Muad'Dib, but like no, because we seen bunch of movies that Christopher Walken was in, so like
I love even like the SNL
the
skit,
SNL,
like, more
yeah,
cowbell.
and he really leads it to
I have a disease.
I have a disease,
and the only cure is more cowbell.
Yeah, it's like it's so like yeah, so he took me out. Like if you know Christopher Walken, you just know that he wasn't really playing a character. Like to me, he wasn't really playing the Emperor. He was just playing Christopher Walken going through a script, you know, because he didn't have a lot of lines. It's just the way he did was like, yeah, that's like just so. And then no, poor guy, he can hide his voice.
Check the recording.
Yeah, actually, keep going.
All right.
So we would, yeah.
Going off of like actors, I guess to continue, I want to hear thoughts on Florence Pugh because I feel like she was a curveball in Dune 2. I wasn't expecting her to be in it.
Like a Florence Pugh jump scare.
Yeah, I guess kind of.
She's the Emperor's daughter.
She was the Emperor's daughter, the blonde kind of girl.
The one
I
that
was
Paul
surprised they opened with her.
It's very
Me
interesting.
too.
I was
surprised by
that
that.
they showed the Emperor and stuff.
Oh, they opened with her, right?
Yeah.
That's yeah.
I'm definitely intrigued by her character, but it's. I think what I'm most intrigued with is like her connection to the Bene Gesserit, because it's like obvious that she's almost like being groomed in a similar fashion to like Jessica.
Yeah, it's like Jessica, she is.
So I'm interested.
Like
to
she
see where
was
it's going.
placed by the Bene Gesserit where she was.
Yeah.
Like they wanted
They're like
Paul,
grooming her.
They wanted
same
Paul
way.
to take her as
Are you sure about
his
that?
wife because
Yeah.
because remember right before that happened they went to Arrakis. The Bene Gesserit woman, like the main one that was there, was like, "This is what we taught you all the years of training."
Yeah, and like
for."
there's only one way.
Yeah.
Like there's one outcome.
There's only
where
one
you
outcome,
survive.
and like they know that, and I think that is the outcome.
Yeah.
Paul taking her as
hand.
his queen, and then being in a seat of power.
Which
Right.
one thing to think about? If the Bene Gesserit was like waiting and grooming bloodlines to make a Paul, are they trying to do something similar with Paul and like her kid, where it's like Paul having a kid with the Emperor's daughter, who's probably been groomed in some way bloodline-wise?
They want a female.
I believe
So-
that 100%.
But also,
So
I mean,
what's coming?
Jessica's
Yeah.
baby right now.
That's also
big.
a
So-
curveball
Yeah,
too.
that's-
very interesting.
That's something
Super
interesting
insane.
too. I saw a Twitter post before I saw Dune Part 2 at all. I knew nothing about like the kid. I just saw apparently either in the book or in like I think this is a plot line from the book and it was adapted in like the old 80s Dune movie. Apparently that kid is actually born at this point in the
Yeah,
story.
no, she's like 3 years old,
And she's like hyper intelligent and like just speaks and talks shit
she's
to like
in the book.
enemies.
She's the one that kills Vladimir.
Yeah.
You know that in the book she assassinates the Harkonnen.
That's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
because I was saying, like, apparently, like, they said how, like, it was a great choice to not adapt that because a hyper-intelligent, shit-talking toddler
3-year-old,
is,
yeah.
like, insanely impossible to
And
adapt.
an assassin of one of the main villains. She poisons him in the book, I'm pretty sure.
Interesting.
And it wouldn't work. Like they showed it in the original in the David Lynch, I think the David Lynch movie.
Because
they
I
had that.
saw a picture of like a little kid
With the blue eyes. Yeah, that's
and like
her.
in like a
Black
dress and stuff.
that's her. So they did that in the original movie in the 80s.
That's
But
wild.
that wouldn't work in today's.
No
like
way.
no one that'll take people out.
I think okay. Should we get into like spoilers and stuff, like even beyond like acting and stuff? Because
Yeah.
I've heard some stuff about what is coming. I think it's like basically this is like the story of like the making of basically Space Hitler. You know?
Yeah.
This like
Really?
Paul is
Interesting.
Paul is like going to become like an ultimate villain. Like he's
For sure.
brought up as like
see.
this charismatic political figure,
Right.
uses religion to like push people into a holy war behind him, causes mass genocide, all in the name of his own power and like name.
And they allude to that in Dune 2. It was like I'm responsible for the death of like billions of deaths.
Yeah.
A holy
Crazy.
war. He
Yeah.
says a
It is
holy war.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
so like I find it so interesting, like going back to the whole white savior idea, where it's like this whole idea the white man's gonna come save us, but no, it's like he is the ultimate villain that could have ever been created.
Yeah.
Like just evil.
He's
or
a
not
fake,
even
he's
evil,
a fake
but like
messiah. Like
yeah.
he's not really the messiah.
Mm-hmm.
And
bringing doom to everyone.
that's why
Yeah.
Frank Herbert wrote Dune Messiah. I believe.
Yeah.
It was that to tell people that like no, because people thought he was the Messiah.
Exactly.
They're like no,
He
he's
is not a
the
hero.
Messiah
Right.
at all. He's actually a fake one that was like he
Mhm.
was like bred to be this
Right.
person. You know, he's a puppet, like I said earlier. But like a perfect example is that when back before Paul took the water of life thing, and Jessica did when Lady Jessica did, and she was like she was unconscious after doing it, but she survived it, and the people Stilgar was like of course like oh my god, it's just as written like the mother of the Mahdi is supposed to live and be the Reverend Mother. And Paul was like, no, he's right. And Chani was like, no, that's wrong. It's supposed to be a Freeman. And then Paul was like, no, like, she's right. She was, my mother was trained to do that.
Yeah.
My mother was trained to bypass poison. You know what I mean? And I think they never alluded, but I think Paul was trained to do that too, because I'm pretty sure Jessica bred him to be
my
a
God.
Bene Gesserit.
True.
So I'm
So
pretty
true.
sure that's how Paul got
Survived.
through it. That's how he dampened the poison as well. And you know what I mean? That's probably what happened, because it shows that like it's all orchestrated. Like to the Fremen, she survived the poison. Reality, like from like a younger age, she knew how to survive poison. You know what I mean? It's just something in their culture.
It's like the idea like
Yeah.
miracles are like miracles because you just don't really understand what's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of like that. So it's just like it goes into what you're saying, because I know Doom Messiah, like you say, he becomes the antagonist essentially.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they're setting up, because at
It
this
seems
point,
like Chani is good.
that's
at
what I'm saying, because at this point, like Doom Messiah from the movies will be way different from the book, just
Yeah.
because there's a lot of characters are just not, you know what I mean?
Which is-
The plot's different.
Which is a good thing sometimes.
Which I think is a good thing, because
Yeah.
movie and books are two different medias.
They said
Right.
that the next few books is just going to be unfilmable. Like they can maybe get one or two more movies,
Oh, wow.
but like after the second book ish, it's apparently like they can't adapt it.
Yeah, they said
Interesting.
Denis Villeneuve, like the director, he has a lot of work on his hands to try to adapt it, because I know that so it's already different, because the Shani thing never happened, because I think in the book Shani was always loyal to Paul, even after he took
Damn.
the Emperor's daughter's hand.
That's
which is cool,
surprising.
because now they made the Zendaya's portrayal of it like,
It's, like, more individual.
independent,
Yeah.
and like this is like BS, like it should be a Fremen. And then I don't know what they tease at the end of the movie, that she's gonna try to ride the grandfather worm at the end there.
You think that's what she was trying
That's
to
what
do?
it was coming.
It was
and
a
it-
fuck-
that
It was a
yeah,
really
giant-
it was a
That's
giant
true.
worm was
Yeah.
coming. Like it was the same, I'm pretty sure like the version they did was the same one that Paul rode,
Mm.
and the only ones
I
that
didn't
could
pick up
ride
on that.
I didn't even
was the Lisa Nagaib
Mm.
is supposed to write it, because you remember the painting on the wall of him after he did it plastered the painting on the wall of like the prophecy. So I think they're teasing that Shani could be
Maybe.
the actual Lisa Nagaib, which makes no sense to me, because Lisa Nagaib is not a thing.
Yeah.
Like that's Bene Gesserit propaganda. Like Lisa Nagaib is not an actual like Fremen belief. It's
So-
a Bene Gesserit belief that they
But
put on
maybe
the
because
Fremen.
of all of that, Zendaya's character popped into existence just as a natural anti to that.
I like
Maybe,
that.
yeah.
I like that a lot.
Oh,
we
no.
lost it. We're good.
Alright,
We're back.
yeah.
That makes me think. Do you think then that Denny is gonna be like changing stuff going forward? Like going forward from here, he's
mean,
gonna be doing his own
he
thing with
might-
Dune.
I mean, yes, because it's already different from the
He
books.
might have to, because like you said, I think a lot of it's unadaptable.
Because I haven't heard, like I've heard brief things. Like apparently it just gets
No,
weird.
it gets insane.
It gets weird.
Because I'll talk
Yeah.
about it, because I don't know if you guys know, and it's so far in the future that we'll
Mhm.
see it. But so Paul's son, right? Paul's son, his name's Leto II, right?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
He becomes
Oh my
emperor.
god, stop. Let me see if I can find a photo for you guys
Yeah.
so you could see.
So he same thing, like Paul, he's a nut, but he wants to live forever. So he communes, like I think communes. I don't know if it's more vulgar than that, but he communes with the worms, right, with like a grandfather worm.
Interesting.
And he becomes a worm. Like, and it's so
What?
crazy. They
Yeah.
have pictures of it. It's the craziest look at it. It's like a worm, but like a head of a human, and he lives for like 3,000 years.
Because I have
Wow.
heard that.
Yeah, he ruled for like 3,000 years after that.
It's
Especially
like
if he was
God,
assassinated.
he's like God Emperor.
That's the name. That's the book, Dune, God Emperor.
Yeah.
It's about him, and he becomes like he's a worm. Like it's kind of like it's so out there that I don't. First of all, I don't think Denny will go to that book.
Yeah, I don't think
That's so out there.
Yeah.
I feel like you could like really, you know.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, okay, I
Yeah.
have seen pictures of that. That
Yeah.
is so
Is that
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
he looks,
is-
he looks
We'll
so
flash
Yeah, I'm about to say we
Amazing.
just flashed the
Yeah, we
image.
could flash
Yeah,
the
we
image
flashed
on
the
the
image
screen
for
for you
sure.
guys.
Because I think that's interesting too, because he looks like Harkonnen, too.
Yeah, I mean,
Which he is a
Almost in a
Harkonnen.
sense.
which is a
Yeah.
crazy plot
Yeah,
twist.
I love
is
that.
a
I
crazy
did not
plot
see that
twist.
coming at all.
That's
That was
another-
actually like
That
I
was
was
cool.
like,
Because they kept
Yes!
saying, like, you
Yeah.
gotta know
I was
the truth of your
insane.
bloodline and stuff. I was like, oh,
Okay.
what did Leto do?
Yeah.
What did
Yeah.
he do to make
But it was
Paul?
Jessica though.
And then it was
Jessica.
like, what?
Yeah.
What?
And Paul was like, "You never told me." But the thing is, Jessica didn't know either until she took the toxin that she
Mm-hmm. That was
realized she was a
cool.
Harkonnen. I was like, Whoa.
Yeah.
So
Because then
Insane.
that makes me think about, like, how does the Bene Gesserit, how do they work? Did they just take Jessica as a child? Because
Yeah,
she
I'm
had to have
assuming
never
so.
seen. Did Harkonnen just give her up?
I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
it might have been some kind of deal.
Maybe.
To get a Harkonnen in the Atreides house,
Mm,
probably.
yeah. That's
Right, you have
very
an Harkonnen
interesting,
come to
yeah.
power in the
Like a
Atreides
power
house
play.
to make Harkonnen, just to make House Atreides another Harkonnen house.
Then-
Exactly,
do you think-
yeah.
Maybe.
Do you think he knew about that? Do you
Who?
think
Who?
like
Vladimir?
Vladimir? Like, do you think he was planning that all along?
But they showed
'Cause it
him.
seemed
Remember
like he
they showed
didn't even
baby
see it
Jessica
coming.
for a split second. They showed
Yeah.
that little baby, and then they
So
showed
he knew
Vladimir
about her.
above him. So
He knew
yeah.
about Jessica.
he must have. He must have.
But then, like,
That's kind of insane.
how does he?
He never thought
It must have been a Bene
better
Gesserit plan. It must have been a
Yeah,
Bene Gesserit
yeah.
plan.
But
He probably was
I
like,
mean,
"I'll
how
fly
much
under
would
the
he
radar."
know then?
That's fine.
That's what I'm wondering. How
About-
much of their plan would he have known of? He probably would know nothing. It's like he just gives up his kid, and then like Lady Jessica comes up. He's not going to be like, "Wait, you're my daughter." He
Yeah,
probably
he's on a need to know basis.
yeah.
Mhm.
He probably wouldn't have known anything.
No, for sure.
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I bet the book probably elaborates.
Yeah,
on it.
yeah.
Definitely.
Speaking of, as soon as the movie was over, I purchased it on audiobooks.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna start reading. You're gonna start listening to it. That's a
Yeah.
good idea.
You see how different
See
it
how
is.
different
or-
it is.
Catch up, and then I'm gonna read
Yeah.
like the other books. Also, do you know anything about like the book series? Because I was looking.
Mm-hmm.
So Dune is book 1 in the Dune series, but book 12 in the Dune like saga.
Is that true?
Yeah. So
That's interesting.
No,
And-
because they made a bunch of prequels.
yeah, and
Oh,
it seems
okay.
like it's like Frank Herbert's son.
No,
or
but
someone
those are
that
like
wrote
not
it.
canon. They say.
Yeah, is that any good?
No, I heard
Okay.
it's like very. That's well, because it's up to you, but like how good it is. But it's very out there. It's
Mm.
very out there.
Because I might try reading it.
It's very. But they're about his sons. His
Yeah.
sons do it. But I think the main canon are the Frank Herbert ones. But I think it's
The
Dune,
4. I
Dune
think.
Messiah, Dune God Emperor, and Children of Dune.
Yeah.
Those are the 4 that he wrote. You know, so
Wild.
it's wild stuff. Like that continues. Like it goes. So I don't think Denis Villeneuve could.
No way. No way he makes it
Adapt
to the
those-
4th.
No, I think
No way.
That's too many movies. Number one, but
Because part 1 and 2 of Dune is the first book, right?
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
of the first,
first
book?
book. Yeah.
Which is
Interesting.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It is kind of crazy.
What else do you have there?
I kind of wanted to touch on Star Wars a little more.
Mhm.
There was a lot of comparison going around between Anakin, obviously, and Paul. And obviously, we touched on the Force already being the voice. But I just wanted to touch on, like, I guess more so depth with characters, character arcs. Or do we think they're similar? How do we like it? Do we think the comparison is valid? Like, what's our thoughts?
I could definitely see the comparison. I definitely see comparisons being valid in terms of, like, Tatooine is exactly
Arrakis.
like Arrakis. Even the Sarlacc pit is just a vertical sandworm.
And then spice
Yeah.
and the water.
Yeah, there's like there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of interesting concepts that Star Wars pulled.
Mhm.
In terms of like I've been trying to think a little bit in terms of like character arc being like taken. I could
Because-
definitely see I saw some
I mean,
at least like Paul being like Luke, especially with the reveal of
Really?
who his bloodline really is.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I could
Okay.
definitely see that being a
Because I was
through line.
gonna say more in terms of like him being Anakin and how he was groomed and like let down by
Mhm.
his predecessors.
I could see
like
that too.
How Anakin was, you know. But that's also a really good point. I didn't think about that.
Because like the chosen, Anakin's the chosen one.
Yeah,
and
exactly. And you've been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Luke, to a similar degree, it's like he has all this stuff thrusted upon him, all like other
Oh, for
people's
sure.
baggage, and it's like
Mhm.
you got to be the one to save us all.
Mhm.
And then he's like kind
Yeah.
of doing his own thing. He has all of these revelations about who he really is and like his place in it all. I could definitely
Yeah.
see some connections to it.
So,
No, for sure. I know that. Yeah, you know, and George Lucas is open
Yeah.
about being inspired greatly by Dune.
Right.
Because I think I said this to you, where it's like, I think from the beginning he described Star Wars as like a mixture of like Dune, Flash Gordon, like pulpy sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could definitely see that. Like the Flash Gordon, I could definitely see a lot of it. Also, one thing I thought of too, like in terms of comparison, the Thropters. I kept like when I first saw them, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, that looks like an X-wing. Like with how it's
Yeah.
Okay,
The
yeah,
wings and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Oh my god.
I
yeah,
could definitely
for
see
sure.
that.
The X-wings.
it's like an X-wing that like X-wings if they didn't have to
Flap.
Mhm,
Flap.
Yeah.
Yeah. X-wings.
That's a
Yeah.
really.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. I
And yeah, like the
didn't realize
Fremen
that.
to me are just the Tusken Raiders
Yeah.
on Tatooine.
I could see that too.
It's like,
I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that.
yeah, that's another one.
Though they're not as good. The Desert Power in Star Wars isn't as
It
good
doesn't
as
matter. Harness it. True story. You
There's
can't-
like moderate desert power in
Yeah.
Star Wars.
moderate.
Moderate.
There isn't Desert Power in Star Wars, I don't think.
No.
The Desert
Yeah,
Power
no.
in Star Wars is very low key.
Very low-
have you
yeah.
seen Boba Fett? Like,
Very, it's just
So
very
true.
gangster.
Yeah.
Like you know, like mafia. That's the power on Tatooine. Gosh, we'll get to that. There's another episode on Boba Fett.
Like Star Wars in general.
I'm good off that.
I'm
But-
gonna double check the
Yeah.
Yeah.
recording. You guys keep talking. We're still
Um,
good.
I kind of like last little point. I guess I wanted to touch on like. Obviously, Vinny, you love movies. We're both in like the production aspect of things. We like seeing that stuff. I wanted to pick your brain on how you thought the movie was constructed in terms of CGI, how much it was paid for to make it, because it was
The budget.
significantly cheaper than other movies that have come in the past that have CGI, and it's just like terrible. And I don't know, I just wanted to see your take on it because I really liked it.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because there's a
Yeah.
bunch of scenes that I was looking at. I was trying to figure out if it was filmed on a soundstage or on location.
They filmed on location.
Most of it was
for the
filmed
most
in
part.
Yeah.
Jordan.
Because I could definitely see a lot of, like, especially when they're out on the dunes and stuff. I think the only times I ever felt like it was indoors was whenever there was, like, a sandstorm.
Yeah.
Because, like, the lighting in terms of it, I
It was
feel
so
like
dim.
they had to get, like, the smoke
Yes.
to lift off, and they would have, like, lights shining through
Yeah.
the smoke. So I think they needed to contain the smoke somehow, so that was probably on a soundstage.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting too, like the design for like architecture and stuff was very interesting because I thought it was intriguing how when they were in like the hideout for the Freeman, like I forget what it was called, like the Sitch,
temple?
or, like,
Oh, I forgot the name of it.
yeah, like whatever it was, like the one where
Siege.
yeah, Siege.
Oh yeah,
Like
Siege
those.
something like that. Siege something like that.
It almost like felt like pyramids and stuff. Like it was like
Right.
cuneiform and like hieroglyphics and like weird angular structured walls. Like I think those like that design for sets was really good. The budget in terms of CGI was really good too.
It was
Cause
pretty low for what they had
It was
to
like
do.
It was like 160.
Yeah.
Cause I was trying to
Million.
think too, like the scenes on like the Emperor's planet and like I always forget their name, like Sogard or like the
Sodokar?
Sodokar.
The Sodokar.
Their planet was interesting too because it was like almost like monsooning constantly.
Yeah.
It was like really really interesting use of like a mix of real life,
and life. Yeah.
sets and actual CGI.
TJ looks
Yeah.
great compared to like other. She was mentioning because I was telling her how like projects like Marvel projects, recent ones, the
Yeah,
lesser
it's-
quality ones,
really
have
crappy.
had
Yeah.
2 times the budget that Dune has had.
I think the big thing is the turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yeah.
Dune took its time. Like, he
It
really
did.
took its time to perfect everything. But Marvel has just been churning out
Yeah.
product
Too much.
after product and like
Yeah.
not giving enough time for like the artists to really
Like
get
craft.
good
Cook.
like good work.
Yeah.
It
Cook.
watered
Yeah.
Cook, yeah.
Cook, man.
It watered it down, the
Mhm.
product. So
Yeah.
like you see like something like Captain Marvel.
Like especially like Ant-Man, like
Yeah,
Quantumania with like what's his face, MODOK.
Yeah,
That was terrible CGI for MODOK.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
and that would have like 2 times the budget that Dune had.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
And then like Dune
Mhm.
did this, made something like magnificent.
Like literally the shots of like the ships coming down, unbelievable. It
Yeah, it's
all
amazing.
looked like real. Like
Yeah.
it was really
Real.
happening.
The
Yeah.
worms looked really good too.
Yeah.
How they were like moving in the sand.
And even
Yeah,
like you
I
could
wanted
see
to
like the
ask-
bits of skin and
Mhm.
stuff
Yeah.
lifting off.
I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, Claire, because I know like you're kind of like neutral in all this,
Oh.
because like it's your first time seeing like Dune,
careful
obviously, but also like I guess like production wise and like movie wise. I don't know much about it either, but I have like a little bit of a background in it. But I wanted to get your
Sweet.
like take on how you thought
Rubbery.
it was done. Like, did you feel like
I was like honestly fully immersed in this
That's
movie.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was pretty darn immersed.
Like, could you tell like if it was in like on site or if it was like CGI? Obviously the worm is, but we know that.
No, I wasn't really able to tell, and I don't even know
Like, kinda
how
lost
I
in
could
it.
tell because I'm, like I'm just a sit and stare kind of watcher. So.
Yeah.
How did you like the
No.
cinematography of it? Let's get to that.
Ooh,
next.
yeah.
So I
Cinematography.
How'd you
really
like that?
loved how they filmed the landscape, and they took time to just kind of show it. Which at first I'm kind of like, why are they taking so much time to like? But then I'm like, the atmosphere. Like,
This is
okay,
why.
yes,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
They definitely
pretty
did a
cool.
good job of showing like the Freeman like hanging out in the
Mhm.
dunes and stuff. Like when they set up the tents and it's like overhead shot of all the tents and
Yeah.
stuff.
I
Really
liked
nice.
when they were like in those little like crevasses,
Mhm.
pulling XQC crevasses. And you could see like the little Freemans just kind of like popping up, like, oh hey.
Oh yeah. Like they were like standing guard through like the
Yeah,
paths and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, that's
Or
cool.
when they were like hiding in the sand.
This
They
is-
have the
that was
breathing.
Yo,
That was
That was
yeah.
unbelievable. That shot at the end,
Yeah.
the final attack on Arrakis.
They all stand up out of the.
It was like the shot, like the foot shot, like at the feet of them, like running out of the sand towards them.
Mhm.
Unbelievable. That like lifted me from my seat when I first saw that.
I like
That's
wonder
unbelievable.
It was pretty cool.
how that is like filmed. Did they have like just people laying down and then they just have someone going and like
Yeah,
pouring
I
sand
think
on
so
everyone?
too. I think that's
Yeah,
how they did
and
it.
when they first showed like the whole thing with them laying in the sand, and they had like they showed
the tubes thing?
They showed the Muad'Dib,
With
the
the
mouse,
little
the
mouse.
mouse come.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
And
cool. I
then-
loved Little Mouse.
And I
too.
didn't put two together the black tube with somebody breathing.
Yeah, me
So I
neither.
watched it with mom, right? And she was like, Seb, like, there's somebody breathing. I was
yeah,
like,
that
no.
you could tell.
I was like, because I did not know they came from the sand. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's not somebody breathing. And then that was Paul.
Because
That
I
was
mean, we
Paul's-
saw it in part one.
Yeah.
During his
Very briefly.
we saw it a little bit when they would
I
attack.
didn't even remember.
I didn't
But
remember either.
They
It was brief.
they
Yeah.
showed it when I think Paul had a vision of like the Freeman fighting
Yes,
the final
it
battle.
was like from behind.
They
Yes.
showed him like
it.
coming out of the
Yes, they
sand
did.
and
Yeah,
blood.
it's
Oh
true.
my gosh,
They did.
did.
It was Zendaya when he saw Zendaya in battle.
Yeah.
That's when that was happening in part 2. I was like, oh my god, they're showing this is the vision's
That's
happening
the vision's
now.
happening.
They
Yeah.
saved all the desert power for part 2.
All the
Yeah.
Desert Power, Dune, Desert Power.
All right. Well, I guess to
Coming
wrap
soon.
it up, I guess a favorite scene from Dune 1 or
Oh wait,
Dune 2.
actually,
One
before
more
we
thing?
go there,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a statement. I don't even know because I've only seen the 2 movies. People who have read the books, they're like, "Wow, this girl, what she's saying." But I am like, okay, but hear me out. Okay, the Fremen with their blue eyes
Yeah.
and how blue the elixir of life, whatever the heck it's called.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
I'm like, but why would the sandworms just be like excreting that? And then it's also like of life, and they're looking for this green paradise. So I'm like, well, where did their water even go? Where did their paradise go? Where? Why? How does
was there water in the first place?
And spice is like this life. So I just think it's all connected, but I don't know how. Is my point.
I don't think water.
I feel like I'm
was
Charlie.
on
I'm like that
Arrakis.
scene with Charlie and
Oh, yeah,
It's Always
like-
Sunny, and I'm like,
All the
like
connections.
that. Yeah.
Where's Pepe Sylvia?
I just think in terms of like it's all a metaphor. Like there isn't really water on that earth, but like in terms of like it being water of life and spice connected to that. Spice turns your eyes blue, like we saw in the second movie. So maybe since the worms like live in the sand, that they just consume it, and their venom is now blue, or their water of life, whatever. That's
It's like
why
pure
it is.
spice.
Yeah,
That could just be like their
exactly.
stomach acid.
Or
Like, I don't think they really
maybe,
go
yeah.
into it.
They say
I mean,
it's
they
like
called
venom.
it
Right?
worm piss.
Yeah,
it's-
okay,
They
yeah.
literally,
Did they?
They called
literally
Zendaya called it
excrete
worm
it.
piss.
Because
Yeah.
if you think about it,
They
that
shoved
lady
the
in
tube
the
in.
pool,
Yeah,
she
she
like
shoves it. And
took a
That's a cool
catheter.
The little worm that she
Catheter,
she was holding it.
Yeah.
I think, whoa, that's actually like a practical prop. Like that
Yeah.
worm. Like that's really cool.
But
Did a good job with that.
I think in terms of like paradise and like leading them to like somewhere greener or whatever, I think it's just in terms of like freedom, and they
Yeah.
want to.
But
They
like,
wanna
how
have
would their
their land
Fremen have a
back.
concept of green if all they've ever known is Dune?
But I again,
well,
I think
like,
it's just
I
Is that
think-
Bene Gesserit?
That's
like,
Bene
Bene
Gesserit. It's
Gesserit.
Bene
Probably,
Gesserit.
yeah.
It's Bene Gesserit.
And it might have been like
All their
people coming
prophecies and
to
stuff.
Arrakis. Like
That's what
they
that-
probably
yeah.
heard about
Yeah.
other planets.
That's what Paul, the propaganda.
sure.
is.
Because she was,
Yeah.
She
Paul
did
was
know about Paul's
explaining to
planet.
Zendaya about swimming. She's like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
It's-
I
it's
think
probably just talking
Only,
about
but only
'Cause she
Paul
heard-
talked about like bringing the oceans to Arrakis.
It's
I don't
true.
think.
True.
because in his
That's
visions
true.
he did see that, and in like the last few moments of the movie, there's like a scene with he sees his sister.
At the ocean.
Well,
which
at
is
the
really
ocean
cool.
with
That
the
I
desert
did
meets
not
the
expect
ocean, which
Anya
is-
Taylor-Joy to be his
That was a
sister.
jump scare. That was a jump scare.
Yeah.
for sure.
That was cool.
But
It was cool.
so
It's very interesting.
Because
Yeah.
they showed that shot of like her eyes, and I'm like,
she's blue. Yeah, they're blue.
yeah.
no, but like you know how like, no hate to her, I love her, but how her eyes are far apart, and I'm like,
You're so
I'm
funny.
like, who? I'm like, wait a minute.
I know who
wait
that is.
just a
I
minute,
know
and
who
then
that
the
is.
next shot, and I'm like, fuck, man, it's
Yeah.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good casting. I thought
Both
that
are
was a good
busy.
choice.
Yeah.
No, she was
Yeah.
great.
I'm
think
interested
she's
to
gonna
see if she
kill.
actually has like a role to play.
She
If
must
she
be.
does,
She
I
must be
think-
huge in the next one.
I
movie.
hope, because
Yeah.
she would kill.
Because I know, because Alia, I think that's in it. What's the name of the character? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think
She's not even born yet. I have
Yeah,
no clue.
I forgot the
Fetus.
name.
Fetus is crazy.
I'm pretty sure she plays a huge role, like in Messiah. You know what I mean? So does Florence Pugh's character plays a huge role in Messiah.
I'm intrigued to see what Florence Pugh does. I just want to see what Zendaya's character, like what
I
her
know, 'cause
reaction's
she
gonna
left
be
on her
to this.
own.
Yeah, like Cheney's reaction.
Yeah.
That's
I
real.
To
will
all
always
this.
love you until I stop breathing.
Yeah,
whatever
and
that
then
says.
I will take your hand.
Yeah,
my hand
literally
there.
2 seconds later.
Yeah.
She was like, oh.
Yeah.
So weird.
But yeah.
Anything else? No.
Anything else? I give it a 10 out of 10.
All right. So I guess like a favorite scene from the movie,
Okay.
from like Dune 2, and what kind of ones is there?
Honestly, for me, I was really beyond like the basic answer of like the final battle, which was really
Yeah.
cool. I really liked the Paul learning to ride the sandworm.
Nice.
That was
Cool.
really
Yeah.
cool
Nice.
and really well done with like in terms of shots, the
Yeah.
music and score, and like in terms of like the sound design built up to when he actually stood up to like the explosion of like music and
Yeah.
score and everything.
That was
just really well
the
done.
director Denny. He said that was his favorite shot of the whole movie.
Can
So-
I just
so well
say,
done.
the way his leg was like struggling to get up unimmersed me. I'm like, this
Really?
guy's overacting. Pull your leg
No,
up.
that-
Damn.
I
I'm
was-
like, pull
I
your
got-
damn
I'm
leg
sure-
up.
I got into it because of that.
Yeah,
No,
I'm sure that
it
wasn't even his
took
leg.
me out.
It's like, I'm sure it was not. That was not Timmy's leg. But what's your call? Nah, really?
Because like in my head, in that moment, I'm picturing there's like an acting coach being like, yeah, a little bit, down, a little bit up, yeah. Okay, bring it up. Yeah, we're good. Like
when he
that.
was doing that, I was like, "You can do it, Paul. Do it. Stand."
You're his acting coach.
So do you agree? What was your favorite scene?
Is that yeah?
It wasn't the scene where Paul learned to ride the sandworms. It's when the desert power came into play and they brought out the sandworms. I'm
Like
like,
all
at the
three
end.
sandworms.
yes,
That
because
was
that's
fucking
after
amazing.
That was a great
they
scene.
dropped the fucking nuke and then just like rail them from all angles
Yeah.
by the same ones. I don't know.
Really
That was
well
just-
done.
And they're all in the
Yeah.
back. They're all in the back of the same room with the House Atreides flags.
Mm-hmm.
That was tough. Yeah.
That's cool.
How about you?
I think my favorite scene is just Paul learning what it is to be a Fremen and
Mhm.
like how to
All
live
those
like
scenes.
them. Like
Yeah.
all of those scenes, I just
So,
thought it was
like,
so cool
pure
because they built
almost.
it up so much in the first movie that I was
Mhm.
like, all right, I gotta see these Fremen. I need to know what they're about, what they look like,
Yeah.
and they did that in the second movie, and I'm really happy.
They did a good
about
job.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
happy we waited like so long to watch
To
the
watch
first.
it.
Yeah.
Because it was like no build up at all. We just
Yeah.
watched first, immediately watched the second.
No, you're right.
So
Yeah.
perfect.
Premiere line.
I have two scenes.
Okay.
Two.
So, come on.
One
That's
different,
I'm
cheating.
different so bad.
I'm sorry.
All right, come
Two.
on.
One's very short. One is after he did his big monologue saying, "I'm Paul Muad'Dib Atreides, Duke of Arrakis," and then he went to like the big crowd of them and like said, "Fight for your lives" or something like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
And there was that random shot of him walking towards the camera, and it was like the heat waves,
Mhm.
and then the huge worm comes from behind him. That shot was unbelievable.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Even though like it kind of took me out for a second, I'm like, okay, like it was kind of like I feel like the writers were like, put this shot in, it'll be badass. Like, even though it makes no sense, I'm like, why is this worm? That means they someone put dumpers just to get that shot. It's like, you're gonna walk in
Yeah.
front of it and put dumpers on the damn.
What of the shot of like Paul walking up the rock, like the hill, and like all the warriors down,
That's
and
what
they
I said,
start
yeah.
seeing him coming up, and they're like,
One by one, right? They start seeing it, and
Yeah.
yeah, that was amazing.
that was
That
so
was
cool.
so
Yeah, so in between like the monologue and that scene, the scene was not talking about the worm.
Yeah.
But then the second one, which we didn't touch on, is very like a little viral, where he says silence to the
To
main
to
main Bene
the
Gesserit.
mother, yeah, the
And then
mother.
she said like abomination, right?
Mm.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
After he said silence,
And
and
then
then like
you could
shot at
still
her, and she was
think-
like, she looked terrified,
Yeah.
and she
then
said
you could
abomination.
See Jessica, like,
And she created
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, you didn't see
was all
Jessica.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
did
she said
that.
abomination
Yeah.
because remember the males aren't supposed to have that
They're
voice
not
essentially,
Yeah.
and she's like seeing like
Her
heresy
fault
in
that
front
this
of
is
her.
all.
Yeah.
And
This
Jessica
all
was
came
like,
to pass.
yes, sir. That's my son right there. Yeah, don't mess around. And I love that.
And she's sitting pretty on the throne with her like little beads, huh?
yeah,
Yeah, literally.
but that silence when he yelled it at her to
Mhm.
just like shut her up because she was like, "Be
Yeah.
careful what you're gonna do," and she, oh my god, that's like amazing at the
Yeah.
end. So that's
Yeah.
that's my two favorite shot scenes. Yeah.
Wow, it's crazy. All right, and any last words? No.
Wait, did you say your favorite scene?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
It was just like
kidding.
All of
Just
the
kidding.
Freeman,
All
like
the
learning the
Freeman,
Freeman.
like,
Oh,
him,
okay,
like,
okay.
learning stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I guess that wraps up this first episode.
The
Thank
first
you guys
episode.
so much for
Well, yeah.
watching / listening wherever you listen or get your
I'm gonna
podcasts
put
or
up to you like
whatever.
this. It's not episode.
It's
3.
not episode 3. It's episode 1.
Terrible.
Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you for the next one.
And in the comments,
oh yeah, comment below.
what was your favorite scene?
What was your favorite
Oh,
scene?
we
Do you
wanna know.
agree? Do you agree with our hot
We wanna know.
takes? Do
We
you
wanna
have
know.
any like any questions or anything that we didn't answer or like?
Are you pro or con desert power?
Yeah.
Us know.
Pro, con,
Yeah.
desert
Let
power.
us know. We gotta get a poll.
Desert
We gotta
power,
get a
get it.
survey. We gotta find
Screw
out.
Desert
Yeah.
Power.
And leave a like,
So
subscribe, and hit the bell icon.
You're
for-
so funny.
You have to say it. You
Do
gotta
all,
Yeah,
say
say
it.
it.
do all the things.
You gotta
Yeah.
say
Do all of
it.
them. Wait, the cup, the cup, the cup.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
the
thing.
cup.
Oh, oh, oh.